Welcome to VoteProPot-Cast, the award-winning cannabis news podcast brought to you by VoteProPot.com. Here are your hosts, Phil Adams, Jay Britton, and Andrew McCreadies.
Well, hello again, folks, and welcome to another episode of VoteProPot-Cast. You know, today we have, as a very special guest, our good friend and the founder and CEO of cannabis.net, one of the premier cannabis...
Excuse me?
Okay. The premier cannabis website on the interwebs. And we're very pleased to welcome Curt Dalton. How you doing, Curt?
I am doing excellent, gentlemen, and thank you for having me back for, I know only 3 guests have been invited back in 160 episodes, so I'm
That's right.
Saturday Night Live. I'm getting my second Saturday Night Live gig.
Yeah, you're becoming the Tom Hanks of VoteProPot-Cast.
Yeah, pretty much.
You must have done good the last time. Done good.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but no.
There's a lot of news, Curt. A lot of shit going on, man. A lot of stuff.
We got New York, Virginia. I mean, it's happening fast and furious. I think the biggest news out in your neck of the woods is Schumer says to Biden, I'm still going to do it. So you can just not have your fingerprints all over it. And Kamala Harris kind of confirmed that this week. Like, well, we're a little busy, but keep doing what you're doing. So all of a sudden, the cannabis industry has gotten new breath of life, even with Joe Biden looking the other way, because Schumer's like, we're all in. And the bill he is promoting, and you guys would know this better than I would, is still completely removes it from the CSA. So that's right. The monster to tackle. And if Biden just wants to look the other way and not have to, endorse it, that's fine, as long as it gets done.
Yeah, exactly. That's just fine with us.
Well, maybe Kamala will just hold the pen in his hand and make him scribble his name on it. And no, there's obviously some scuttlebutt out there about, is it because of his son's past history? Is he a little leery?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean,
Schumer and Biden have been comrades in arms, as we say, no pun intended, for the Democratic Party in, 50 years?
A long damn time, as long as I can remember.
I'm pretty sure they've talked about this and how the president would like it done, so that, I don't want to say it because we think it's fine, but maybe he keeps his hands off it. No pun intended, and it still gets done, but he doesn't say, I did it, or I did, or I had to do something.
Well, whatever gets it done, Curt, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. Go Schumer.
Yeah.
Well, he's still got to sign the bill, though, so...
Right, eventually he'll sign it, but maybe he'll hold his nose, or we'll put some butt under there.
Yeah. Exactly.
It can be a recess appointment or something like that. Is there some bill that you can pass? Just... I don't know.
Who knew 5 or 7 years ago? Chuck Schumer is the guy to push it over the goal.
Who would have thought, man?
Now, what do you know about the pending legislation that Schumer has? I mean, aside from taking it off of Schedule 1, that Schumer and his colleagues in the Senate are cobbling together.
A lot of social equity, a lot of empowerment, a lot of funds going to communities hit hardest by the drug war. Okay. Basically, from what I understand it, kind of the scuttlebutt back and forth has been Kamala has had to say we're not legalizing it. She had to toe the party line with her boss saying decriminalize, but then it was released. Which
is what vice presidents do, so, that's to be expected.
Right, but then it was say, okay, we're going to let the states decide, has kind of trickled out a few times out of her mouth too. So if you remove it from the Controlled Substance Act and THC can cross the state line, and of course, you fix the IRS and banking. That's a given. That's part of it. It's just let us have bank accounts so we're not carrying around cash and armored cars. Right. That's minor to me in the sense that has to be done, whether you like it or not. If you remove THC and you let it get shipped, then it's over. I mean, it's already over now. So people that are denying that, we had 40 states or so going, 39.
Medical, and then now with recreational, we got Virginia, we got a couple other states. New York, exactly. So
yep. That might be about a year. They're saying kind of you actually have a store open, but Virginia's like they're doing the Vegas move. They're just open next week.
Shit and get, man. They were talking 2024, and now they're saying July. And I got an email today. My dispensary is called Beyond Hello here, and I drive about 45 minutes to get there. And I got an email today. They're opening one in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
by
baby.
the end of the year. Hey, let's get back to this for a second, Curt. You mentioned the social equity thing, and we see that every state that legalizes now, that's the big promo. And I think some of that's PR, to be honest. In other words, I think that helps them get it over the finish line. I don't mean that they're not serious about it, but then when you look at it, I mean, and I'm just being the cynic that I am. I think it's great when they talk about getting into these neighborhoods that have been the most, egregiously hit. But at the same time, it's always these vertical, rich, white guys who get the licenses. Now they say, oh, we're going to open our dispensary in this neighborhood or that neighborhood. But does that really happen? And, the people that we talk to who own dispensaries, own the businesses in a lot of these states, they're all very well financed, very wealthy, and most of them are white men.
What could possibly go wrong with three old white dudes talking about social equity?
Yeah, I know, right? But no, I mean, that's a serious question, I mean...
And what you want, the equation itself doesn't work, because I'm a little bit involved with the program here in Mass, and I know a few people involved. And what happens is you're giving, I call it the Willy Wonka chocolate factory ticket. They're awarded a dispensary or delivery license, but they're so ill-equipped, generally, just in the sense of financing and even to the point of Excel spreadsheets and running a business. It's not fair to the states to just say, here you go, you got the piece of paper. Now watch out for all the sharks, because guess what? They come immediately.
Absolutely.
And just say, I'll take
they're waiting in line.
You just come to a meeting.
Right.
So it's not even fair. Like, how can you just give someone that piece of paper and be like, there you go, you got one. Congratulations. Now you need so much support to run a business, let alone a cannabis business, and so many people around you and money that you're just asking the sharks to come in, which is happening in every state, like you said. And just as soon as they're officially published, they get 4 phone calls saying, we'll do it all, take a check, or you just come to the meeting twice a year and we'll do everything. And some people are doing that. Some people are saying that's fine.
Well, how many minority small business owners have dispensaries in the country? I don't know many.
That'd be an interesting question.
I'm guessing.
It's not many.
I was going to go under 5% just as a ballpark. I think there's 3 in Massachusetts officially open right now. Maybe another one coming online. But
I don't know any here in Virginia, and that's just my state. In Maryland, I know this is the same way. I know the people that got the licenses in Maryland. So I guess the question is, where's the social equity come in?
Well, I did hear or read that one of the concerns with Schumer and his guys in the Senate is that very thing. First of all, they said they're talking about preventing the tobacco companies from coming in and taking over the industry. But I don't know if the tobacco companies are the real threat there. But they are, the legislation is supposed to be geared towards the small business and entrepreneurs. I hope they're sincere about that, but I guess we just have to see.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You're rolling your eyes, Jay.
I'm not buying it yet. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I mean, I know who owns the licenses in a lot of these states, and it's very wealthy.
But like you say, the social equity part of it is really what moved Virginia up from 2024 to 2021.
Well, that's what they said. That's what they're saying. My question is,
if that's what, and I think they're sincere about it, and I think it's the good thing and the right thing to do.
I hope they are.
If that's what got it over the finish line,
right? What the hell?
What the hell? Yes, absolutely.
In reality, though, like you said, so even if Virginia, let's use your example, gave out 10 licenses, the first 10 go to economic empowerment or social equity. There you go, stamped. Take your picture on the Capitol. But and then what do you expect them to do? They have to go get financing. Right. They need help in the C-suite. They may have never run a business. And again, now comes how much money do you need, and how much percentages will that investor or that group take? And it's just not a fair equation just to hand them a piece of paper and say, congratulations, here's your social equity. We just deserve this. And then again, some of them were just taking the check, but others would actually like to run the business too.
Well, I think some of the social equity regulation stuff is backdoor, which is fine. Meaning that some of the tax revenues, go to programs and stuff. That's terrific. I think that's great. And that should happen. But where's the ownership rights and the ownership availability?
Right. And in reality, that might be the solution, is just carving out the actual tax revenue like New York did and saying these are going to these funds. Because in reality, if successful people are running these businesses and creating hundreds of millions of dollars. You deserve, like, let's put a chunk right here. And that might be the end game of how it works.
And that's fine. And that works. We had a couple of women on 2 weeks ago, Phil and I interviewed, who owned a dispensary, and they were dispensary of the year by somebody. In fact, they were on the Today Show, but they talked about how difficult it is getting the license. But more importantly, I think running the business, when you have no tax write-offs. So if you do $1 million,
and dealing in cash,
you're dealing in cash. If you do $1 million, you're paying tax on $1 million, federal, income tax. So
right.
it's tough.
If you enjoy the show, we'd love to hear from you. Send us your thoughts at VoteProPot.com/contact or send us an email at podcast@VoteProPot.com.
Curt, I got a question for you. And this, maybe something you don't want to talk about. It may be a trade secret. But I got to ask you, who is Reginald Reefer? Reggie Reefer. Is that you?
No, actually, no, that's not my pen name. He is a writer that's been with me since 2016.
Is that right?
He is a gentleman that actually lives in Mexico. And he writes one of the more hard-hitting and funny opinion pieces. I give him full language leeway, and he just lets it rip. And some of the pieces he's done are excellent. And even the most recent one on...
he wrote the article on Professor Raphael. Yeah, well, he should have the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that article.
Yeah, that's gone. I had no idea that article would do what it's doing right now.
Is that
just
right?
Going worldwide.
Oh, that's because I shared it.
Yeah, that's because Jay shared it.
I shared it. No, it is a really good article, and he's great. Reggie is great.
Jay Britton, opinion leader.
No, it's actually a really clever article. He talks about Professor Raphael McCollum. I guess you pronounce it. I've never been able to pronounce his name. We all know who he is. But that he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. I really recommend you go to cannabis.net and check that article out, along with all the others.
Or the Nobel Prize for medicine. They have one for that too.
Yeah. Well, I have cannabis.net with my coffee every morning, so everyone should be doing the same thing. Absolutely. What else you got going on at cannabis.net these days? Any articles you want to throw out and talk about?
Yeah, we just put up one that originally Deb Borchardt, our friend over at the Green Market Report, covered, which we thought was really interesting, was the cannabis beverages. And I had just done a review of a beverage here in Massachusetts, and I was converted. I was a naysayer on the beverages, and then I realized that the social aspect, and you can't have them 10 milligrams because you're too knocked out after one drink. Right. You have to make it last 3 hours socially. So that's why they're lower dosage right now. And I get it, because when you're standing with a can or a drink in your hand and you're socializing, you don't want it to be over, eating a gummy and you're done in 10 seconds. And now at least you can socialize with it. So anyway, Deb did the headset research showing that right now, predominantly, women are pretty much the exclusive buyers of cannabis-infused beverages, according to Headset, which I found fascinating. Like, why is it women? Why are women being over 80% of the buyers of the beverages? Low dosage. Put it over ice. It lasts. The experience of consuming it lasts way longer than 2 bites of an edible. So there's a social aspect that I was not aware of until I went through the taste test. That now I get it. Now I get why you'd want 1 or 2 of them and let it, extend.
Absolutely.
It's almost like a bong hit for 60 minutes.
And speaking of the taste test, how did you like it? Were they yummy?
Loved it. So it tastes exactly like a seltzer you would buy at a store if you just bought a cranberry or a lemon seltzer. You would have no taste, no aftertaste, none of that kind of pungent, little
grassy flavor.
But you would never know. Like, you could just do a taste test. You would have no taste difference. And
that's great.
This industry is just getting started. But the social element of having 2 or 3 of those in a night, as opposed to wine, is intriguing now. I've been converted to say I get it.
Which drink did you try, Curt? Which one was it?
It was Levia out of here in Massachusetts, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're at about 30 dispensaries, and because THC can't cross that state line, all these beverage companies, unless they have really good financing, they're all going to be state geography constricted. So you're going to have 5 big ones in Mass, 5 big ones in Virginia, would hopefully get this law changed. So you're going to be trying 5 different ones. Like I said, unless someone's really well financed to set up a couple different facilities in each state, you're going to have to tell me about yours, and I'll tell you about mine.
Right. Excuse me. Who's the guy we had on?
Warren Bobrow. Yeah.
Warren Bobrow. He's
the cannabis cocktail whisperer.
Right.
Yeah, it's very famous. Forbes writer as well, and has, I think, a book out on.
That's right. A bunch of books.
Several, actually, yeah.
50 or 100 ways to make a cannabis-infused cocktail, whether it's a martini or a margarita. He's got it, he figured it all out.
And mocktails as well. So, he's got it nailed.
And he
was a lot of fun.
And he's going in whole hog, full steam with this drink. He thinks it's going to be the thing. I think I read her article today. It was really good, the one you're talking about. And I think we've covered this on the show, and the beverage market, the infused beverage market is only about 1%, I think, of the whole cannabis market. It's a very small market share. But I think she said women, I got to remember the percentage. It was some huge percentage it was like 80 or something.
Of the drinks sold or being sold to women.
To women, right.
Yeah.
And that surprised me to some degree. But I don't know. I can kind of see that.
But when you think about it, it makes sense. Being the social aspect of it.
I suppose, yeah.
And low dosage.
Well, if you look at the White Claw, right, you look at the alcohol phenomenon, I'm sure female sales of that had to be 80-20 to women as well. White Claws and the hard seltzers the last year or two.
I confess to having a White Claw every once in a while.
Oh, they're delicious. I'm saying. I make my wife go buy them because I'm too embarrassed.
It's very refreshing, though. Very refreshing.
That's why the stats are skewed, because everybody's sending their wife in, like, go buy a 6-pack of that. But I don't want to.
Yeah, right.
Don't let anybody see me walking out of the grocery store with those things. Oh, come on, man.
I'll be in the Scotch aisle, like where all the men are. I'll be over there.
I'm buying some bourbon. You go get me some White Claws. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a sensitive subject or not, Curt, but we used to see you on Weed Talk News, and now I haven't seen you there for a while. What's going on there?
Oh, Jimmy and his staff are doing great. They've added in, I think, 5 or 6 new kind of beat reporters that report from different parts of the country, and I was getting busier and busier. So just step back, let some new blood come in, and the show's.
I hear the guy who does the DC report is pretty good.
Yeah. He's all right.
DC report is spot on. I fast forward to the guys, really. But
he's overpaid, but yeah, he's okay. We miss you on there, Curt. We do.
It's really a great roundup if you haven't watched it. It really does cover North America and gives you all different people telling you their point of view in the news in their area. So check out We Talk News from Pro Cannabis Media each week. It comes out on Friday, and of course, you guys are on there.
Let's talk about New York. Cuomo signed the bill, last week, the week before, whatever it was.
Right.
And, Cuomo's been in the hot seat lately, as we know. And I got to wonder, Cuomo's a guy who 2 years ago, maybe 3 at the most, was saying there's no way he would ever be pro-cannabis legalization and that it was a gateway drug. And here he is giving a speech, last week, how wonderful it is, and it's about time we do this and all this. So what are your thoughts just kind of on the politics there?
Yeah, is he seeing the light or is he feeling the heat?
Right.
CYA, cover your ass.
Yeah.
The overwhelming voter support, the prediction was $1 billion in the first year for the state, which implies tax revenue starting at 13%. It will really push 20 by the time.
And New York could use it.
New York is going to kick some ass when it comes to selling weed. It's going to be second maybe only to California. They are going to, don't you think it's going to be a huge market?
Yeah, so we covered this on cannabis.net and said they're going to set up to be the East Coast kingpin of
I saw
weed.
That article. Yes, I agree with you 100%.
That kind of money and that kind of influence, and when they finally get it legal, you're talking about $200 million in revenue in the first. Tax revenue with $1 billion in sales, roughly. If we're thinking 20% is the real number on taxes, so 100%. Look out! A lot of people think that's the last domino to fall. They would say once New York goes, you take. You have Mass, Maine. You're right. Now you kind of have that part of the map in green. No pun intended. You have this part. You just got Alabama with medical just today or yesterday.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Virginia's going full for a state in the South with full rec. We're running out of state. There's only 50, as I tell people. The rest are like 40 or some point. Like at some point, why is the federal government pretending this isn't real legal tax and people aren't working in the industry? Like, what do you guys? It's already done, guys.
Yeah, it's done.
Well, Phil and I and Andrew have been going back and forth for a couple of years now, talking about when is it going to happen. Phil, I think this is the year. I think it's going to happen this year.
Oh, I do too. Of course, I predicted that it would come off of Schedule 1 in 2019, but
2018 maybe. But no, I was with you.
I was a little off.
I do think it's going to happen, though. I think this might be the year.
I think you're right. I think there's the ducks are in a row where people are placing their bets before the game starts, powerful people. And once that's taken care of, they'll just make their calls to Washington and say, okay, we're even Koch teaming up with Snoop now.
Right. I saw that. Yeah.
Back in the country, had a Zoom call with Snoop, and now he's all in.
He's all in, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's coming. The Koch brothers are pushing it now, too. I think we're close.
I do, too.
Yeah, when you get the Koch brothers in it, that's big money and big Republican money behind it.
Yeah.
In Virginia, a recent poll had 51+% of Republican voters in favor of legalization. That's probably a tipping point right there. But I think you're right. I think we've reached that point of no return.
Curt, do you think that Virginia is the starting of the snowball rolling down the South? I mean, do you think you're going to see all these southern states follow suit here in the next year and a half, 2 years?
I don't know about rec. That's a little aggressive, but certainly medical. I think Louisiana was first with the medical, and now Alabama's gone medical. And you know how this goes, right? First year's medical, and everybody realizes it's not the zombie apocalypse. And wow, people really like it. And it kind of works for a lot of conditions. And then everybody opens their mind to the tax revenue and the enjoyment of it. So good for Virginia moving so quick on the full rec. But I think you're going to, like I said, Louisiana, Alabama, and I guess Idaho will never have marijuana, according to that one senator. Yeah,
right.
He's going to make it like from Moses to hand it down. No marijuana in Idaho. But other than that,
South Dakota is legal now. So
exactly.
Right, yeah. Nebraska is looking, and I mean it's a snowball, and it's just a matter of time. I think the Fed's got to get it done.
Like you said, why is Biden like what's he's president?
Well, who's
he going to piss off at this point if he signs it or goes forward with it? Like who's he protecting?
It may partly be that he's just still kind of old school politically. He comes from an age, and I guess so does Schumer and Cuomo too, where, marijuana is a gateway drug, good people don't smoke marijuana.
Right.
And I think it's just an old school mindset. I wonder how much that plays into it,
I think there's a lot of politics involved with it too. I think he's in a very precarious position with what's going on with his son, Hunter, and the drug issues with Hunter and all the really sticky issues that the press has kind of walked away from for a while. They could all come back to haunt him if he's not careful. So maybe, and maybe just as a genuine father with a son that's had a problem, who hopefully has gotten past that problem, that may play part in it psychologically, where he just doesn't, he's still in that, he's from that era where cannabis is the same as cocaine and heroin and everything else.
And maybe eventually, Schumer's bill will get rolled up into an economic empowerment act, so he can sign that, which is going to create jobs and tax revenue. And, that's part of it. And there you go. Now he's not signing the legalization bill. He's signing the bigger taxes, create jobs bill.
Or a social justice bill. What do you think about the chances of the Banking Act being passed soon? It was reintroduced into the House, and I believe also in the Senate. Are we going to see that coming soon?
I thought that would be the easiest thing to pass, because at some point, even if you are anti-cannabis and don't want it out there, these businesses are there. They're in your neighborhoods. They're in your state. And, you're eventually going to have friends working there. And, just the cash issues. And they said the IRS write-off makes it so onerous on these companies. They're still making money. But for people that don't know, you can't write
the Rule 280E, I think it is, the IRS.
Yeah. So basically, when you run a business, you get to write off the deductions as far as, payroll and your equipment,
inventory, everything,
plant and equipment. Yep, the whole thing.
So it's going to make it much more profitable too. These businesses, if they can be run like a quote normal business, just in the tax sense. But I obviously people who are going to make these $1 billion bets in these investment funds want to make as much as possible. So I would think the first thing they want is to get the accounting and the financing legit, so that we can put stuff in a bank and track it. And we need to be able to take these write-offs so we make more money profit wise.
So what does that mean for folks who have money to invest and would like to get in on the ground floor, so to speak, in the cannabis industry? Are we looking at a good time to invest in cannabis stocks?
Depends on your timeline, like anything. I think if you're looking for a kind of Bitcoin face ripper, that may not happen. But are the 3 or 4 cannabis companies best position out there to have multiple states going, a good long-term play? Absolutely. I mean, if this thing is going to be as big as the three of us think, you're buying in early on, the Google and the Amazons, and
right, you're buying at $10, $12 a share. That could easily be much more.
I bought some stocks in the last 3-4 years, and I've done well with all of them. So I think it's a time to get in. And as long as you pay attention and you know what companies you're buying, there's a lot of shitty companies out there too that really haven't managed their finances and their investments well, and have overspent and overcapitalized,
overinvested.
No, there's great companies out there. Some of these companies that are in a state, like Florida, and they've positioned themselves to grow quickly once they can go across state lines. Those are the ones you want to take a look at, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, if you're looking for something to double overnight, it's not going to happen.
No.
Right. Compounding interest over 5 years at 350%. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some companies and some winners, and the smaller players will get eaten up by the big players. So it's going to be, will it mimic alcohol? At some point, like a Daigou will emerge, or an Altria, and just own 60% of the market. We'll see. We'll see if the Fed's regulate it.
Let's talk about trends before we close out here. What do you see as trends in cannabis? Curt, start with you.
Right now, excitement and buzz from people that know nothing about it and could care less on the moral side, whether it's good or bad, but they know it. They know there's something to invest in, and this is the future. This is the next big thing. So I probably get asked more about, how do you invest? Even all the way from I want to write a check to a one company, or I want to buy stocks, or getting into accelerators. And it's nice to see. I think Europe is catching up a little quicker too, just based on our traffic and the stories we do. A lot more interest. We're devoting a lot more time to cannabis seeds, because my first intuition is, well, once this thing goes legal, U.S. first, obviously, then the UN is going to change their drug policy to remove cannabis. Everybody's going to type in, how do I get marijuana seeds? So we're spending some time on that with European companies and with American companies, and doing a lot of interviews and stories on, like, well, how do you get them? How do you grow them? What's that industry like? These seed banks, which is this
and they could be little cottage industries, of really great strains and
Well, yeah, Virginia's new law is going to have cultivation. You can grow whatever it is, 3 plants.
Up to 4 plants.
Yeah, whatever it is.
2 mature and 2 not mature.
And then I think you can have up to 12 in a house if you have enough people. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. What about you, Phil? Trends in the industry, not just stocks, but in the cannabis industry.
In the world of cannabis?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think that we're going to see more states on the heels of this. Like Curt says, now that we know that this is not inciting a zombie apocalypse, decriminalizing or legalizing other psychedelics. We're seeing it in Washington. We're seeing it in California, some other places. Psilocybin,
that's true.
Even MDMA and some other psychedelics. And the more that happens, and the more places are selling adult, are able to sell cannabis for adult use, this is going to eat into the profits of the drug cartels, especially the Mexican cartels.
And they're starting to do a lot more research into psychedelics medically too.
Right,
small doses and how for PTSD and different things. I see as a trend. I think one of the next big trends is going to be the social lounge thing. I think.
Oh, I hope so.
I really do, because there's only, how many states we have legal now? 17, 16.
16.
Depends on what you count. With Virginia, I guess 6. But only a handful of those, I think 6 now, have, social lounges or consumption lounges. Las Vegas. Nevada announced a bill this week to add that, because they think about it. I go to Vegas every once in a while, and I go into the dispensary there and buy some weed, but what do you do with it? I got to go back to the hotel. It's just, and then I told a story on here a couple of years ago, or a year ago, Curt. I went somewhere, I won't say where, and I did just that. And I bought a couple of joints, and it was time to pack up my stuff and go in the morning and go to the airport. And I'm packing up, and I found a little half a joint, and I said, I'm going to hit this up, before I go. And I went into the bathroom, turned the fan on, and did it up. And then just as I came out of the bathroom, there's a knock on the door, and it's housekeeping, and I was, come on in. Well, she came in and she made a funny face. Long story short, I get home, I get my bill for the trip, and there's like $375 added to my bill. And I called the hotel and I said, $350, what's this for? And they said, oh, I don't know. Let me get the manager. And the manager comes on and says, well, according to the notes here, your room needed to be fumigated, and we couldn't rent it for a night because it smelled like marijuana. So you see my point? Yeah. You go and buy weed at a dispensary when you're traveling, and you can't use, you can buy gummies and you can buy, but you can't in public in most states. You can't. So anyway, I think the lounge thing is going to come on strong. So you can buy it, and then dispensaries will have a place you can sit and smoke or drink, if you want to get it. So I think that'll be one of the next big
You're
things.
Absolutely right. And who has a great system for this is Barcelona. They have what's called Cannabis Club. So it's basically a bar, if you're thinking American, and where they just have a small dispensary. They sell you the product, and it's a lounge. It's a bar. You sit in it. But
that's cool.
There's like 400 of them or 500 of them in Barcelona or Madrid, and they're all a little different. They have age groups where like one of them has 5 Xboxes out and huge screens.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah.
And other ones has like a guy playing jazz guitar, and then the next one you go to might have like the football or soccer game on. So you can kind of get like what you're into while you're consuming cannabis. And the rule over there is you go in there, you usually have a private membership card. It's like $20. You buy it, you consume it there. You do not come out on the street puffing away. And if you take it home, that's your business, but nothing out in public. And I go, it's pretty cool. And I think
I like that.
That's great. And it makes perfect sense. I understand the public thing. You can't go walk around the streets with a bottle of bourbon either. And that's fine. I get that. But the problem is, like I said, there's
unless you're in New Orleans, in which case,
right? That's true, which is great.
You guys heard of those red cups, right? But anyway, continue.
Yeah, right. Curt, where can folks get in touch with you?
They can head right over to cannabis.net, leave me a message in the, contact us or info, or our Facebook page, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And always looking for good new ideas and things we can talk about with you guys.
We are very happy to have Curt Dalton with us today. Thank you, Curt. As usual, we would love for you to go on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend about VoteProPot-Cast. If you're enjoying it, chances are you know someone else who will as well. And Jay is going to tell us all about how to get in touch with us.
Send us an email at pod, with a D, cast,
D,
at VoteProPot.com. Call our message line at 240-257-2441.
And as always, there is a world of cannabis-related stuff that you can consume and read about on our social media platforms. So go to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter and do a search for Vote Pro Pot.